Thank you. Hi. My name is Dymtro. I work with DDD for maybe 4 years already. And my project is a DDD framework, which I will shamelessly plug later if I have time. And let's start with the domain. I am a software developer and I write code all the time, so I'll be speaking about code mostly. Imagine you have a user who also has a wallet with some money on it, and it's a one-to-one relationship. And how do we model this in a prehistoric way? Basically, we have some SQL code which describes all the attributes that the user has and the wallet has, and there are some foreign keys which connect them, and then we turn this all into Java code. Varchars turn into strings and numbers turn into longs, and this is like done. Okay. But this approach has some problems to it. First of all, let's try to instantiate the user. And it's not very descriptive, but it seems okay. It's actually not, because the parameters are switched. We failed from the very first step, but I wish this was the only problem. It's not. Secondly, imagine if we would like to take the domain name, the top-level domain name from the email from the user, and say we won't send any emails if it's in certain country. We take the user, take their string which represents an email, take the index of the @sign, take the domain name part, then take another index and take the top-level domain name part. This looks very scary to me. This is not the only problem as well. Remember this structure. Currency is represented by the currency code, by the way, which could be better, but okay for now. Money is represented with a long number, and whoever has any experience with coding money knows that it's a faulty thing. But there are more reasons than you think. Imagine we have to represent Mauritanian currency. It's called UGE, and a single UGE has the equivalent of cents for UGE is hums. Hums in the language of Mauritania is 1/5. So an UGE has not 100 hums, but only 5 hums. And how do we represent hums in code? We could do that in a way that it's easy to calculate sums. So, for example, 1 hums is 20 units. And then if we add 5 hums, we get 1 UGE, which is domain correct. Or we could do that in a way that it's easy to print sums, because 1 is actually 1 in this domain, and still we have to write something like this all the time. I put ISK, which stands for Icelandic krona. Any people from Iceland here? Okay, so Icelandic krona has no equivalent of cents whatsoever. So this is another corner case. How do we solve this problem? Domain-driven design has such a concept as value objects. Value objects are small little objects which contain a single yes, value, and they are able to do stuff around this value so that we don't have to think about it. For instance, let's consider making email address and internet domain name value objects. Now, how do we rewrite this code, which we've seen previously? Just with one line of code. Everything else is contained inside the value object. And this helps us tackle domain complexity where we can think about only the domain complexity and extract all the other stuff supporting domains into some other places, such as value objects themselves. Here is what we can do with money. Money could be represented with actually the big units, the small units, so whom's or cents or whatever. And the operations on the money can be done only with other instances of money. We cannot do operations with money using operations on longs. And currency is another value object here. And currency probably contains the information about how much minor units are contained in one major unit, which is handy. And this is how we instantiate currencies. Maybe if you work with certain currencies in your system more often than with others, you could create a pool, for instance, which would be also helpful. Here comes the most important part of this talk. If you don't remember tomorrow anything, remember this. IDs are always value objects. There is no reason not to make IDs a value object. UUIDs, or be it phone numbers, or be it emails, or whatever you do with it, maybe tax ID of person. It is a value object and nothing else. Imagine you have this log entry on your production. I personally hate the idea of negative ones being an ID, but that's kind of another thing. And wouldn't it be much easier if you have this instead of that? So at least you know what actually happens. You know, you inject the ubiquitous language all around your system without any extra effort. Another use case is when you're trying to merge two independent systems together and different IDs from different systems. So if you have a phone number as an ID in one system, an email in the other system, and a UUID value in the other system, you combine them into one object and then deal with the complexity of choosing one inside the value object. But there is a problem, and I'm personally too lazy to do that manually. Luckily, we have solutions to help us, ease us into the adoption of value objects. In my projects, we use Google Protobuf, which is a technology for generating structures in many languages from a single source. The source looks something like this. And we can, for example, the main benefit of this is having the same model, the exact same model always on the back end and on the front end, which is helpful. Some honorable mentions go to libraries such as AutoValue and Lombok. In Java, this is what you can do if you don't want to share your value objects across different platforms. And another great competitor is Kotlin. Kotlin, if you live in the Java world, can help you write your domain logic and implement your value objects, then convert them to JavaScript and maybe to native code if you want for some reason, and still have it as the same model. So as summary, value objects are small, tiny immutable things that can help you isolate supporting logic from the actual domain logic. And they should not be dumb structures, they should be smart objects. And domain logic on primitives always breaks. Remember that. Thank you for attention.